Okay, let's dive into this. I want you to imagine the year 1996. We've got two guys earning pretty much the exact same salary. They live in remarkably similar neighborhoods, they have access to the exact same opportunities, and they're navigating the very same economy. Now, let's fast forward 20 years to 2016. One of these men has achieved complete total financial freedom. The other? He is buried under an absolute mountain of debt. So, what happened? How on earth do two identical starting lines lead to such drastically different finish lines? Well, the answer lies in the invisible, quiet differences in the decisions they made over those 2 decades.
Chapter 1. The Lifestyle Inflation Trap. Running faster just to stay in place. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it captures a trap almost all of us fall into. Imagine, right now, that you get a surprise $5,000 raise at work. If you're like most people, your brain instantly starts calculating how to upgrade your lifestyle, right? Maybe a newer, sleeker phone, a nicer car, upgrading the apartment, or throwing in a few premium subscriptions. But notice what happens. Those high lifestyle expenses grow to perfectly match that new, high income. That nicer car and the new phone absorb literally every extra penny. It leaves your actual remaining wealth sitting near zero. This right here is lifestyle inflation in a nutshell. As the earnings creep up, the spending creeps right up with them, keeping your true wealth completely stagnant.
And that turns into this endless, exhausting cycle. Work, earn, spend, repeat. It's like a giant hamster wheel. Year after year, people spend decades running faster and faster on this treadmill without ever actually moving forward financially. But let's flip it and look at the millionaire's mindset. When a wealth builder gets a bump in income, their first instinct is never, "What can I buy?" Instead, they ask, "How can this money generate even more money?" Because wealth isn't built by spending what you earn, it's built by multiplying it.
Chapter 2. The Invisible Clock. Thinking in decades, not days. This brings us to a massive psychological shift, the way we view the time frame of wealth. While the average person looks at a paycheck and asks what it can do for them today, wealth builders are looking 10 years ahead. They're asking what today's resources can become a full decade from now. Think of it like a small snowball rolling down a mountain. Up here at year 1, it's a small start. Honestly, it looks insignificant. It almost feels too small to even matter. But as it rolls down to year 5, it's gathering serious momentum. It's packing on more snow. And by year 10, it is an unstoppable force of compounding. And hey, this isn't just a metaphor for your money. This applies to your skills, your network, your relationships. The real tragedy is that most people quit right around year 1 or 2 because they want immediate proof. They just don't stick around long enough for the compounding to become visible.
Time is the most powerful wealth-building asset in existence. Money can be lost and earned again. Time cannot. Think about that for a second. That is exactly why the wealthy guard their time so fiercely. You can always hustle and make another dollar, but you can never, ever make another yesterday.
Chapter 3. Assets versus appearances. The illusion of looking rich.
And this brilliantly illustrates the trap of visible success. Society, and let's be honest, social media especially, constantly trains us to admire luxury cars, massive homes, designer clothes. We're fed this illusion that these visible symbols are the exact same thing as actual financial security. But borrowed status is almost always propped up by hidden debt. Sure, they look incredibly successful, but behind closed doors, they're quietly sweating from paycheck to paycheck. Now compare that to built wealth. This is all about ownership. It's about acquiring assets. True financial freedom is often completely invisible. Look, appearances really only impress strangers at a stoplight, but true assets, they create genuine, unshakable personal freedom.
Status can be borrowed. Wealth must be built. Honestly, this should be the core mantra for absolutely anyone looking to achieve financial independence. The truly wealthy spend way less time trying to look rich and way more time actually building wealth behind the scenes.
Chapter 4. The most powerful word in wealth. Delaying gratification.
As humans, we are naturally, biologically wired to crave immediate rewards. It's why saving money can literally feel physically uncomfortable and why staying disciplined feels so painful. But there is one specific concept, one tiny word that separates the wealthy from the rest of the pack. Later. Millionaires postpone unnecessary purchases. They are willing to sacrifice short-term pleasure for extraordinary long-term outcomes. They refuse to let that itch for an immediate reward make their decisions for them, simply because they know that every single dollar spent today is a dollar that cannot work for them tomorrow.
Chapter 5. Treating knowledge like an asset. The cost of ignorance.
Let's move to Enshwine and see how this builds into something much bigger.
While average earners spend their money on things that rapidly lose value, millionaires actively spend their money to acquire knowledge. Because knowledge is the ultimate asset. It generates future income, and it sparks this incredible chain reaction. Think about it. First, your skills create opportunities. You learn something new, suddenly a door opens. Then those new opportunities create income. Next, that increased income gives you the capital to create investments. And finally, those investments are what create actual wealth. This is exactly why self-made millionaires are constantly reading, studying their industries, analyzing new trends, and just remaining fiercely, relentlessly curious.
Ignorance is expensive. Every financial mistake you make carries a heavy, heavy cost. But a single insight or just one newly learned skill can prevent those costly errors entirely and drastically increase your earning power. Investing in your own knowledge is, without a doubt, the best way to reduce the tax of ignorance.
Chapter 6. Seeing Risk Differently. Calculation versus Stagnation.
There is this huge myth out there that millionaires just love wild, reckless risk. That's entirely false. While average thinkers try to avoid all risk completely, what they don't realize is that avoiding risk leads directly to a hidden, much more dangerous trap: stagnation. Look, starting a business is risky, yes, but never starting one carries the huge risk of never realizing your potential. Investing your money carries risk, sure, but never investing guarantees your money loses its value to inflation. Changing careers is a risk, but staying in the wrong career for your entire life, man, that's a massive risk. So the real question isn't how to avoid risk entirely, but rather which risks are actually worth taking.
Growth rarely exists inside complete certainty. The people who consistently move forward and build extraordinary lives, they don't operate without fear. They just evaluate the risk, calculate the odds, and take action, rather than letting that fear paralyze them.
So the crucial point is this: it all comes down to these wealth decisions. Think long-term, in decades, not days. Buy assets instead of borrowing status. Delay gratification by embracing the power of the word later. Keep learning to fuel that chain reaction of knowledge. And finally, take calculated risks to avoid the trap of stagnation. Because these specific thought patterns, practiced day in and day out over years, inevitably and predictably change a person's financial reality.
Which leaves us with this final provocative thought. If your current mindset is actively shaping your financial future right at this very moment, what thoughts should you start changing today?